Una Park had seen many strange things in her 5 years as a cargo specialist on Harmony's Edge station. She had watched slug-like creatures sign trade agreements. She had shared meals with beings made of living crystal. She had once helped deliver medical supplies to a species that breathed liquid methane. But nothing had prepared her for what she found when she returned from her lunch break that afternoon. The station was in chaos. Warning lights flashed in the corridors. Security officers ran past her, their hard shells clicking against the metal floor. The Chelney were insect-like beings with 6 legs and compound eyes. They served as the station's police force, and Una had never seen them look so afraid. She grabbed one officer by the arm. "What is happening?" The Chelney's antennae trembled. "The Virathi cubs. They escaped from the diplomatic quarters. We have them cornered near Docking Bay 7. Your docking bay." Una felt her stomach drop. She knew about the Virathi. Everyone in the galaxy knew about them. They came from a death world called Virath Prime, where everything tried to kill everything else. The Virathi had won that war. They stood 7 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in armored scales that could stop a plasma bolt. Their claws could cut through steel. Their spines carried venom that could kill most species in seconds. And now their children were loose on the station. Una ran toward Docking Bay 7. She did not know why. She was a cargo worker, not a hero. But that was her bay, her territory. And something in her gut told her that frightened children, no matter what species, should not face a wall of armed guards alone. She reached the bay and pushed through the crowd of security officers. What she saw made her heart ache. 3 cubs huddled against a stack of shipping containers. They were smaller than she expected, maybe the size of large dogs. Their scales were a deep purple, not yet hardened to the black armor of adults. Their eyes were wide and golden, and they darted from guard to guard with pure terror. The biggest cub stood in front of the other 2. She was growling, a sound like rocks grinding together. Her spines were raised along her back, leaking drops of venom that sizzled on the floor. The 2 smaller cubs pressed against her, shaking. 12 security officers surrounded them. Their stun weapons were raised and humming with power. "Hold your fire," the lead officer commanded. "We wait for the ambassador." "We cannot wait," another officer said. "If they attack, we must defend ourselves. The venom alone could kill half this squad." Una looked at the cubs again. She looked past the scales and the claws and the venom. She saw something else. She saw the way the biggest cub kept pushing the smaller ones behind her. She saw how the smallest cub buried its face against its sibling's side. She saw the shaking, the fear, the desperate need to be somewhere safe. These were not monsters. These were lost children. Una stepped forward. A security officer grabbed her arm. "Humans, stop! You will be killed!" Una pulled her arm free. "They are scared. Can you not see that? They are Virathi. They are born killers. They are babies." Una walked into the space between the guards and the cubs. The security officers shouted at her to stop. She did not listen. She kept her eyes on the cubs. The biggest cub snarled at her. The sound was terrible, like an engine mixed with a scream. The cub's claws extended, each one as long as Una's finger. Una stopped walking. She stood very still. She took a slow breath and let it out. Her heart was beating fast, but she forced herself to stay calm. "Hello," she said softly. "You are very far from home, are you not?" The cub growled again, but there was confusion in it now. Una slowly lowered herself to one knee. This put her at eye level with the cubs. She could smell them now, a scent like copper and rain. "My name is Una. I am not going to hurt you." The smallest cub peeked out from behind its sibling. Its golden eyes met Una's brown ones. "It is okay," Una said. "You are safe. I promise you are safe." The middle cub, slightly smaller than the first but bigger than the third, tilted its head. It made a soft sound, almost like a question. Yuna held out her hand, palm up. It was what her grandmother had taught her to do with frightened animals back home in Korea. Show them you mean no harm. Let them come to you. The biggest cub took a step toward her, then another. Her growl faded to a rumble. She stretched her neck forward and sniffed Yuna's hand. Yuna did not move. She did not breathe. The cub sniffed again. Then she made a sound that the translation device could not understand. It was soft and low, almost like a purr. The cub pressed her head against Yuna's palm. Yuna smiled. There you go. See? I am a friend. The other two cubs crept forward. The middle one sniffed her boot. The smallest one pressed against her leg, still shaking. Yuna sat down on the cold floor. She let the cubs come to her. Within moments, all three were pressed against her body. The biggest had her head in Yuna's lap. The middle one was curled against her back. The smallest had actually climbed onto her feet and was sitting on her boots. The security officers stared in complete silence. The lead officer spoke into his communication device. Commander Lee, you need to come to Docking Bay 7. Immediately. What is the situation? Have you contained the threat? The officer looked at Yuna, surrounded by three apex predators who were now making soft, happy sounds. Sir, I do not know how to explain this. A human just fixed it. She just told them enough, and they listened. They are cuddling with her now. There was a long pause. Station Commander Taewon Lee had served in the Galactic Union Fleet for 20 years. He had fought pirates. He had negotiated with warlords. He had once talked a bomb maker into surrendering with nothing but patience and a cup of tea. But when he walked into Docking Bay 7, he stopped and simply stared. A human woman sat on the floor of his station, surrounded by three Virathi cubs. The most dangerous juvenile predators in the known galaxy were pressed against her like puppies seeking warmth. One of them was actually asleep on her boots, making a sound like a small motor. What? Taewon said slowly. Is happening here? Yuna looked up at him. She recognized the uniform of a station commander. She also recognized the look on his face. She had seen it on the security officers, too. They were scared, she said simply. They just needed someone to not be scared of them. Taewon opened his mouth to respond, but another voice cut through the bay. Where are my children? The crowd of security officers parted. Ambassador Koroth strode through them like a ship cutting through water. He was massive, nearly 8 feet tall. His scales were midnight black and gleamed under the station lights. His eyes burned like hot coals. Every officer stepped back as he passed. He stopped when he saw Yuna. For a long moment, nobody moved. The ambassador stared at the human woman holding his cubs. Yuna stared back at him. She did not look away. She did not look down. Your children are safe, she said. They were frightened. The guards made it worse. I helped them calm down. Koroth moved closer. His footsteps shook the floor. He towered over Yuna like a mountain over a stone. Up close, she could see the scars on his scales. She could see the weapons built into his ceremonial armor. She could smell the power and danger coming off him like heat. The biggest cub woke up. She looked at her father and made a chirping sound. Then she pressed closer to Yuna. Koroth's eyes widened. Rin, he said. His voice was softer now. Come to me. The cub, Rin, looked at Yuna. Then she looked at her father. She chirped again and did not move. The middle cub, who had been resting against Yuna's back, also woke. He made the same chirping sound and pressed his nose against Yuna's shoulder. The smallest cub, still on Yuna's boots, did not wake at all. She just slept, her small claws gripping Yuna's shoelaces. Koroth stood very still. When he spoke again, his voice was full of wonder. What are you? I am a cargo specialist, Yuna said. My name is Yuna Park. You are human. Yes. Koroth knelt down. The movement was slow and deliberate. When he was on his knees, his eyes were level with Yuna's. This close, she could see the intelligence in those burning eyes, the concern, the love for his children. "My cubs do not trust easily," he said. "They have spent 2 months on a ship traveling to this station. They have been afraid the entire time. Every new species, every new sound, every new smell makes them panic. But you—" He looked at the sleeping cub on her boots. "Sora has not slept peacefully in weeks, and now she sleeps on the feet of a stranger." Yuna glanced down at the small cub. Sora. Such a pretty name. "I did not do anything special," she said. "I just treated them like children, not like threats." Koroth was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke again. "I have read the reports about humans. Your species fascinates the Dominion. You evolved on a death world like us. You hunted for millions of years. You have the biology of predators." He paused. "But you do not smell like predators. You smell like safety, like home." Taiwan stepped forward. "Ambassador, perhaps we should move this conversation to a more private location." Koroth ignored him. His eyes stayed on Yuna. "There is a term in my language. It does not translate well. The closest meaning is one who guards the den, one who keeps the young ones safe while the hunters are away." He reached out and touched Yuna's hand with one massive claw. The touch was surprisingly gentle. "My cubs have chosen you. They have decided you are their den guardian." Yuna blinked. "I am sorry, what?" "Virathi cubs bond through scent and intent. They can smell fear, they can smell aggression, they can smell lies. But when they smelled you, they smelled none of these things. They smelled calm. They smelled truth. They smelled protection." Koroth's burning eyes held hers. "They have claimed you." The middle cub, Kyle, made a happy chirping sound and licked Yuna's ear. "I have a diplomatic tour," Koroth continued. 15 stations, 4 months. My cubs were supposed to stay in our quarters with their caretaker, but they have rejected every caretaker we have tried. They bite, they scratch, they spray venom. He glanced at his sleeping daughter. "But they do not bite you. They do not scratch you. They curl up at your feet and sleep." Yuna understood where this was going. "Ambassador, I am just a cargo worker. I am not qualified to— I will pay you 10 times your current salary. You will have private quarters next to mine. You will have access to all the resources of the Virathi Dominion. You will be treated as an honored guest everywhere we go." Koroth leaned closer. "Please, my children need you. I am asking you not as an ambassador, but as a father." Yuna looked at Rin, who was watching her with those golden eyes. She looked at Kale, who had his chin resting on her shoulder. She looked at Sora, still asleep on her boots, small claws wrapped around her laces. She thought about her cargo runs, the long hours, the loneliness, the same routes over and over, with nothing to show for it but a steady paycheck. Then she thought about these 3 cubs, lost and scared in a galaxy that saw them only as monsters. "Okay," she said softly. "I will do it." Rin chirped and pressed her forehead against Yuna's chest. Commander Taiwan Lee watched the scene unfold. He had never seen anything like it. A human woman surrounded by apex predators being begged by an ambassador to become their guardian. He thought about his own childhood in Seoul. He thought about his grandmother's dog, a fierce Jindo that growled at everyone except the family. He thought about how his grandmother had once told him that dogs could sense a person's heart. Maybe, he thought, the Virathi were not so different from Jindo dogs. Maybe humans had spent so long living with predators that they had learned their language, the language of calm, the language of safety, the language of the pack. Koroth rose to his feet. He looked at Yuna with something that might have been gratitude or might have been awe. "Thank you, Yuna Park. From this moment, you are under the protection of House Koroth. Any who threaten you, threaten me." Yuna nodded. She was not entirely sure what she had just agreed to, but when Sora made a small, happy sound in her sleep, she knew it was the right choice. I am on my way. The first week was hard. Yuna moved into the quarters next to Ambassador Koroth's suite. The rooms were large and beautiful, filled with furniture from a dozen different worlds. But they felt strange and cold compared to her small cabin on the cargo deck. The cubs helped with that. Rin was the eldest. She was serious and watchful, always positioning herself between Yuna and any door. She did not play much, but she followed Yuna everywhere. When Yuna sat down, Rin sat beside her. When Yuna walked, Rin walked at her heels. When Yuna slept, Rin slept across the doorway like a guard. Kale was the middle child. He was curious about everything. He wanted to smell every object, taste every surface, and climb every piece of furniture. He got into trouble constantly. He once broke a diplomatic gift by trying to eat it. He once scared a cleaning robot so badly that it locked itself in a closet for 3 hours. But he was also sweet and funny, always chirping happily when Yuna scratched behind his ears. Sora was the youngest. She was small and shy and afraid of almost everything. Loud noises made her hide. Strangers made her shake. Even some colors seemed to upset her. But she trusted Yuna completely. She slept on Yuna's bed every night, curled into a tiny ball against Yuna's stomach. She followed Yuna with her eyes wherever she went, and she made soft crying sounds whenever Yuna left the room. On the 5th day, Yuna met Do-Yun Choi. Do-Yun was the station's xenobiologist, a scientist who studied alien life. He was a thin man with thick glasses and messy hair. He had been studying the cubs from a distance ever since the incident in the docking bay. I have a theory, he said, sitting across from Yuna in the station's research lab. The cubs were with her, of course. Rin sat by the door. Kyle was trying to figure out how to open a drawer. Sora was in Yuna's lap. I think I know why they bonded with you. Yuna stroked Sora's scales. They were warm and smooth under her fingers. I would like to hear it. Do-Yun pulled up a display screen. It showed a diagram of human biology. Humans evolved as persistence predators, he explained. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. We hunted by chasing our prey for hours, sometimes days, until they collapsed from exhaustion. We were the monsters that never stopped coming. Yuna nodded. She had learned this in school. But here is the interesting part, Do-Yun continued. Somewhere along the way, humans stopped hunting everything. Instead, they started making friends with other predators. Wolves became dogs. Wild cats became house cats. Humans took the most dangerous creatures on their planet and turned them into family. He switched to a new display. This one showed brain scans. When most species see a Virathi, their brains light up with fear. Their bodies produce stress chemicals. Their hearts race. Their muscles tense. The Virathi can smell all of this. To them, everyone smells like prey. Do-Yun pointed at a different scan. This is your brain when you first saw the cubs. No fear response, no stress chemicals. Your heart rate actually decreased. You saw 3 predators, and your brain said, "Oh, puppies." Yuna laughed. They are kind of like puppies. To you, yes, but that is the point. Do-Hyun leaned forward. Humans spent thousands of years training themselves to be calm around predators. You learn to project safety and authority at the same time. You can say, I am not afraid of you, and I will not hurt you, with nothing but your body language and your scent. Sora chirped and nuzzled against Yuna's hand. The Virathi cubs sensed all of this, Do-Yun said. When they smelled you, they smelled a predator that was not hunting. They smelled authority without aggression. They smelled... He searched for the right word. They smelled a pack leader. That night, Yuna thought about Do-Hyun's words as she prepared for bed. The cubs were already in her room. Rin had claimed her spot by the door. Kyle had found a blanket he liked and was kneading it with his claws. Sora was waiting on the bed, her golden eyes tracking Yuna's every movement. Yuna climbed into bed. Sora immediately pressed against her. "You know," Yuna said softly, "I never had children of my own. Never had pets either. My job kept me moving too much." She looked at Rin by the door, at Kale with his blanket, at Sora curled against her chest. "I did not expect to find a family on a space station." Sora made a soft sound. It was not quite a purr, not quite a chirp. It was something in between. Yuna closed her eyes. She was almost asleep when she heard it. A scream, high and terrible, cutting through the night. Her eyes snapped open. Sora was thrashing on the bed. Her small body twisted and jerked. Her claws raked the sheets. Her mouth was open, and from it came sounds of pure terror. A nightmare. The little cub was having a nightmare. Yuna gathered Sora in her arms. The cub's claws scratched her skin, drawing thin lines of blood, but Yuna did not let go. "Sora! Sora! Wake up! You are safe! I am here! You are safe!" The cub's eyes flew open. They were wild and unfocused. Her spines started to rise. Yuna did the only thing she could think of. She started to hum. It was a lullaby her grandmother used to sing, back in Busan, back when Yuna was a child afraid of thunderstorms. The words were Korean, and they did not translate, but the melody was soft and slow and full of love. Sora stopped thrashing. Her spines lowered, her claws retracted. She stared up at Yuna, golden eyes wide. Yuna kept humming. She rocked the cub gently, the way her grandmother had rocked her. Slowly, slowly, Sora relaxed. Her breathing calmed. Her eyes drooped. Within minutes, she was asleep again, pressed against Yuna's chest, one small claw wrapped around Yuna's finger. Yuna looked up. Rin and Kale were watching her. They had moved closer during the nightmare. Now they sat at the edge of the bed, their golden eyes fixed on Yuna with something that looked almost like worship. "It is okay," Yuna whispered. "I will keep her safe. I will keep all of you safe." Rin made a low sound, almost like a sigh. Then she climbed onto the bed and curled up against Yuna's back. Kyle followed, pressing against her legs. Yuna lay there, surrounded by 3 alien predators, and felt something she had not felt in years. She felt like she was home. The diplomatic dinner was held in the grand hall of Harmony's Edge Station. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting rainbow light across the room. Tables were arranged in careful circles, each one set with food from a different world. Representatives from 30 species filled the hall, their voices mixing into a soft roar of conversation and negotiation. Ambassador Koroth stood at the center table, speaking with leaders from the Galactic Union. His black scales gleamed in the chandelier light. His voice was calm and measured, full of the careful words that made peace possible between stars. Yuna sat at a smaller table nearby, the cubs beside her. They were on their best behavior. Rin sat straight and still, her golden eyes scanning the room like a soldier on watch. Kyle was focused on his food, which was a special meat dish prepared by the Vairathi cooks. Sora pressed against Yuna's leg, nervous but calm. "You are doing great," Yuna whispered to them. "I am proud of you." Rin's ear twitched toward her. The cub did not smile because Vairathi faces could not smile, but something in her eyes softened. The dinner continued. Speeches were given. Toasts were raised. Music played from hidden speakers. Yuna was starting to relax when she noticed the cubs go stiff, all 3 of them, at the same time. Rin's spines began to rise. Kyle stopped eating, his head snapping up. Sora pressed harder against Yuna's leg, trembling. "What is wrong?" Yuna whispered. Rin growled. It was low and quiet, but the sound made nearby guests look over with alarm. Yuna followed Rin's gaze. She saw a server moving through the crowd, carrying a tray of drinks. The server was from a species called the Kalani, tall and thin with blue skin. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. But the cubs were not looking at what the server was. They were sensing what the server felt. The server's path was taking them toward Ambassador Koroth. Yuna stood up. "Rin, stay." She walked quickly through the crowd, trying to reach the ambassador. But there were too many people, too many bodies in her way. She saw the server getting closer to Koroth. She saw something flash in the server's sleeve. "Ambassador?" she shouted. Koroth turned. The server lunged. Yuna threw herself forward. She crashed into the server just as they raised their arm. Something hit her in the chest, a pulse of electricity that made her whole body seize. She fell, her muscles locked, her vision going white with pain. The server stumbled back, then raised the weapon again, aiming at Koroth. A roar shook the grand hall. Rin came out of nowhere. She moved faster than Yuna had ever seen her move, a blur of purple scales and extended claws. She hit the server like a missile, knocking them to the ground. Before the server could react, Kyle was there too, pinning the server's weapon arm. And then Sora, small and terrified Sora, was standing on the server's chest, her tiny claws pressed against their throat, her spines fully raised and dripping venom. The cubs did not kill the server. They did not bite or scratch or inject their venom. They simply held the server down, 3 sets of golden eyes burning with cold fury, waiting. Security officers rushed forward. They surrounded the scene, their weapons drawn but useless. The threat was already contained. Koroth knelt beside Yuna. "Yuna! Yuna! Can you hear me?" She could hear him. She could not move. The neural disruptor had frozen her muscles. But she could see, and what she saw made her heart swell with pride. Her cubs had worked together. They had protected their pack. They had done exactly what she would have wanted them to do, and they had not hurt anyone. "The cubs," she managed to whisper. "They did so well." Koroth looked at his children. Rin, Kyle, and Sora had not moved. They held the would-be assassin pinned, waiting for Yuna to tell them what to do. "You trained them?" Koroth asked. "No." Yuna tried to smile. It did not quite work. "I just loved them. They figured out the rest themselves." Medical officers arrived. They lifted Yuna onto a stretcher. As they carried her away, she called out to the cubs. "Good job. You can let go now. Security will take over." Only then did the cubs step back. They watched the security officers restrain the assassin. They watched their father give orders. But their eyes kept returning to Yuna, to the stretcher carrying her away. Sora started to follow. Kale held her back. "I will be okay," Yuna called. "Take care of your father. I will see you soon." The cubs stayed. They did not want to, but they stayed, because Yuna had told them to. Hours later, in the medical bay, Yuna learned what had happened. The assassin was a Morven shapeshifter, a member of a faction that wanted to destroy the alliance between the Galactic Union and the Virathi Dominion. They had taken the form of a Kalani server to get close to the ambassador. The weapon was a neural disruptor designed to paralyze and then kill. Yuna had taken the first hit. If she had not, Koroth would be dead. "You are a hero," Commander Taewon Lee said, standing beside her bed. "The news feeds are already calling you the human who saved the Virathi Alliance." Yuna shook her head. The feeling was coming back to her body, pins and needles running through her limbs. "I just saw someone about to hurt someone I cared about. I did not think. I just moved. That is what makes it heroic." The door opened. 3 shapes rushed in, followed by the massive form of Ambassador Koroth. Rin reached the bed first. She pressed her forehead against Yuna's arm and made a sound somewhere between a growl and a cry. Kale climbed onto the bed and curled up against Yuna's side. Sora, unable to wait, scrambled up and buried herself against Yuna's chest, trembling. "I am okay," Yuna whispered. "I am okay. I am here." Koroth stood at the foot of the bed. His burning eyes were wet. "You threw yourself in front of an assassin's weapon," he said. "For me, a species you met 2 weeks ago." "I did not do it for your species," Yuna said. "I did it for my friend. I did it for my cub's father." The room went silent. Koroth bowed his head. It was a gesture of deep respect, a gesture that Virathi reserved for their greatest warriors. "My children were right to choose you," he said. "You are pack. You are family. From this day until my last day, you are part of House Koroth." Yuna looked at the cubs around her. Rin, strong and loyal. Kale, curious and brave. Sora, small but fierce when it mattered. "I think," she said softly, "I was part of this family from the moment I met them." Sora chirped and pressed closer. Outside the medical bay, a galaxy full of species was talking about the human who had stopped an assassination with nothing but her body and her courage. But inside the bay, Yuna was not thinking about any of that. She was thinking about how good it felt to have her family beside her. Yuna woke to the sound of soft breathing. She opened her eyes and saw the familiar ceiling of the medical bay. Sunlight, or what passed for sunlight on a space station, streamed through the windows. She felt warm and heavy, wrapped in something that was not quite blankets. She looked down. Rin was curled against her left side, her head resting on Yuna's shoulder. Kyle was sprawled across her legs, his tail twitching in sleep. Sora was pressed against her chest, small claws gripping her hospital gown, golden eyes closed in peaceful rest. Yuna smiled. Her body still ached from the neural disruptor. Her muscles were weak, and her head felt fuzzy. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that her cubs were safe. What mattered was that they were here, with her. The door opened quietly. Ambassador Koroth entered, followed by 3 figures Yuna did not recognize. They were Virathi, but older than Koroth. Their scales were gray with age, their movements slow and deliberate. Their eyes held the weight of many years. These were elders, Yuna realized. Leaders of the Virathi people. The cubs woke. They saw the elders and went very still. Even Kale stopped moving. Koroth stepped forward. "Yuna Park, these are the elders of the High Den. They traveled through emergency faster than light jump to be here. They wish to speak with you." Yuna tried to sit up. Her body protested. Rin pressed a paw against her shoulder, gently pushing her back down. "Stay still," Koroth said. "You do not need to rise. The elders will come to you." The 3 elders moved to her bedside. They studied her for a long moment, their ancient eyes taking in everything. The human woman. The cubs pressed against her. The way Sora's claws held onto her gown like she would never let go. The eldest of the elders spoke. Her voice was like gravel mixed with wind. "We have heard what you did. You stepped between an assassin and one of our own. You commanded our young in battle and they obeyed. You offered your body to protect the pack." She paused. "These are the actions of a den mother." Yuna did not know what to say. She looked at Koroth, but his face gave nothing away. The elder continued. "In our history, there have been only 3 non-Virathi who earned the title of den mother. All of them were exceptional warriors from allied species. All of them proved themselves through years of service." She leaned closer to Yuna. "You have done something none of them ever did. You earned the love of cubs before you earned the respect of elders. You taught our young to fight with control, with purpose, with the intent to protect rather than destroy. This is rare. This is precious." A second elder stepped forward. He carried a small container made of dark metal. "We have discussed this through the long journey," he said. "We have reached a decision. He opened the container. Inside was a thick liquid that glowed with soft blue light. It moved like it was alive. "This is the mark of the Den Mother," the elder explained. "It is a living thing bonded to our oldest traditions. When applied, it will become part of you. It will mark you as one of us. Not Virathi by blood, but Virathi by bond." Yuna looked at the glowing liquid. Then she looked at the cubs. Rin's eyes were wide. Kyle was trembling with excitement. Sora was staring at the container like it held all the wonders of the universe. "What would this mean?" Yuna asked. The first elder answered. "You would be Den Mother to House Koroth. Any child of Koroth's line would be under your protection. You would have the right to speak in our councils. You would be given a place in our halls." She paused. "And you would never be alone again. Wherever you go, you will be part of a pack. Wherever you travel, you will have a home waiting for you." Yuna thought about her life before this. The cargo runs, the empty quarters, the years of moving from station to station with nothing but her work to keep her company. She thought about all the nights she had spent staring at the stars, wondering if there was more to life than shipping containers and delivery schedules. And then she thought about the past 2 weeks. The chaos, the terror, the love. "Yes," she said, "I accept." The elder dipped a claw into the glowing liquid. He reached toward Yuna's arm. The liquid crawled off his claw and onto her wrist. It was warm, almost hot, and it moved with strange purpose. It spread across her skin, forming shapes and patterns, and then it sank in, becoming part of her. When it was done, Yuna looked at her wrist. A pattern of bioluminescent lines glowed softly against her skin. They pulsed with her heartbeat, blue light flowing through them like blood through veins. "It is done," the elder said. "You are Den Mother Yuna of House Koroth. May your den always be warm. May your cubs always be safe. May your pack always find their way home." Sora chirped loudly. She scrambled up Yuna's body and pressed her small face against Yuna's neck. Rin made a sound that Yuna had never heard before, something between a growl and a song. Kyle actually jumped off the bed and ran in a circle before climbing back up. Koroth knelt beside the bed. He took Yuna's marked hand in his massive claws. "Welcome to the family," he said. "Sister." 6 months later, Yuna was back at Harmony's Edge Station, but she was not there for cargo runs. She walked through the corridors with 3 young Virathi at her heels. Rin had grown. Her scales were darker now, starting the change toward adult black. She walked with the confidence of a hunter, but her eyes still softened whenever she looked at Yuna. Kyle had grown too, though he had not lost his curiosity. He still wanted to investigate everything, still got into trouble constantly, still made Yuna laugh with his endless questions. And Sora, tiny Sora, was no longer so tiny. She had grown braver in the past months. She still slept against Yuna every night, but she no longer trembled at loud noises. She had learned that she was safe. She had learned that her pack would always protect her. A Chelney security officer stopped in the corridor. He watched the human woman pass, followed by 3 apex predators who playfully nipped at her boots and chirped at each other like birds. His partner joined him. "What are they?" The officer thought about it. He thought about everything he had seen and heard in the past 6 months. The story of the human who calmed the Virathi cubs. The story of the human who stopped an assassination. The story of the human who became den mother to the most dangerous species in the galaxy. "Humans," he said finally. "They are the pack leaders. They have always been the pack leaders. We just never understood it before." His partner watched Yuna laugh as Sora climbed onto her shoulders, settling there like a living scarf. "I do not understand it now," the partner admitted. The first officer watched the human woman walk away, surrounded by love and laughter, and 3 young predators who would die for her without hesitation. "Neither do I," he said, "but I am starting to." Far across the galaxy, news feeds were telling the story of humans. The species that had tamed wolves, the species that had befriended apex predators, the species that looked at the most dangerous creatures in the universe and saw not monsters, but children who needed love. The galaxy was learning what humans had known for thousands of years. You did not become a pack leader through fear. You became a pack leader through love. And humans, it turned out, had more love to give than anyone had ever imagined.